Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and this is my Dungeons & Dragons review of Avengers Infinity War. Now, why am I doing a Dungeons & Dragons review of Avengers Infinity War? Well, it's a little bit of a story, but I'll tell it to you. I do want to give you a warning. There's absolutely tons of spoilers. This is spoiler-filled with spoilers for Avengers Infinity War and many other movies within the MCU. So, why am I doing a Dungeons & Dragons review for Avengers Infinity War? Well, you know, I've been game mastering since I was 12 years old, 1982. And I've had a lot of players during that time. And a good number of my players have leveled up from player to game master. Well, I had this one player, Jasper, and I was always concerned about Jasper because he was never cautious. He would allow his players to do all kinds of crazy things in the game that I warned him about. I warned him, you can't let a player, have a player character put a portable hole into a bag of holding, right? But he didn't listen, right? So he brings these stories to me and he's just laughing at the astral explosion that happened. And I'm like, that's really crazy. You can't just be doing this, Jasper, right? And he did not heed my warning, right? So one night I'm heading out to the Wawa. That's like a 7-Eleven here in Pennsylvania. It's the best convenience store in the world. I'm going to get a meatball sandwich. I'm passing Jasper's house, and I can look in, through that, the bay window in the front. Him and 4 of his players are playing, right? There's a huge light that flashes out. I have to park my car, run into his house, right? There's this, and as I'm even running up, I'm knocked to the floor. All the glass through the bay window comes out, right? I come in, there's a swirling vortex there. And I'm like, Jasper, what did you do? I warned you. And he goes, yeah, you were right. We did a portable hole in a bag of holding exactly in the middle of a dimensional door spell. And I was like, Jasper, you can't do this, man. He's like, I should have listened to you, Scott, right? His 4 players have been pulled. They're now doing this, allowing his players to put a portable hole into a bag of holding at exactly the moment when one of them was casting one of their player characters was casting a dimensional door spell, just tore a rift right through the game world into our reality. I just shook my head. I'm like, Jasper, man, I warned you, Jasper. So his 4 players are sucked into the game world, right? But their player characters are sprawled right there in his living room that has furniture detritus all over from the astral dimensional explosion. And I'm like, Jasper, man, I don't know what to do with you. And he's like, I gotta go back for my players. I gotta go through the portal and get them. I'm like, what about the these 4 player characters, Jasper? And he's like, you're gonna have to take care of them, Scott. I'm like, what? Wait, no. I got enough on my hands already, Jasper. So he jumps through the portal, and I'm like, holy cows, Jasper, this is crazy. So he jumps through the portal, and I'm still there with all these player characters, right? And so there's a fighter, a rogue, a wizard, and a cleric. And so, Jasper's already jumped through the portal. The portal's closed. And I'm like, what am I going to do with you guys, right? Like, holy cows. So I can't abandon them. Now, the house I live in, it's like 70 years old. And the dude who lived there before me, he wasn't just some lame, software guy, computer guy. He could actually use a hammer and nail and saw and all that kind of stuff. And in the back of my house, there's a shed that's like a mini house. It's ridiculous, right? So I have this awesome shed in the back of my house because this dude who owned the house before me could actually use tools, right? And so I was like, well, fighter, wizard, cleric, rogue, you're gonna have to live in the shed. And they're like, thank you, Scott. That was the fighter, of course. And I'm like, sure, I'll bring you a pizza in a couple hours. So they've been there for a little while now, right? They're there for like a week. I give them a laptop, right? You start watching all our media, right? And they're like, hey, we've been in the shed for like a week. Can we come out now? And I'm like, no, nobody in this world understands, people who are from a game dimension, right? No, you have to stay in here. And the cleric really explains, like, you know, hey, listen, we've been here for like a week, man. You know, there's some stuff on the laptop, but we need to get out. And I'm like, all right. I said, well, I'm going to see Avengers Infinity War tonight. Do you guys want to come? And they're like, yes, of course. We've watched all the MCU because we've had a week. All other 18 movies. And I'm like, yeah, I get that, right? So they all come to the movies with me, which was problematic. Took a lot of hoodies, dungarees, you know, had to buy it all at Goodwill. But I took them all to, you know, to Avengers Infinity War with me. So this is actually 5 people's reviews. It's, of course, the Fighter's review, the Cleric's review, the Wizard's review, the Rogue's review, and my review, all right? So I'll give you the Fighter's review first. The Fighter said that he thought the movie was fantastic and the battle scenes were very realistic. He was incredibly hyped about the creation of Stormbreaker, the replacement for Mjolnir. And he loved Thor's line that said, you know, when Eitri, played by Peter Dinklage, of course, when Eitri created, needed to actually start that engine that would be used to melt all the metal for Stormbreaker, he said to Thor, you know, this is going to kill you. This could kill you. And Thor says, only if I die. Fighter absolutely loved that line. Thought that was hysterical. Would not stop laughing. You know, and so it was really, really funny. I thought it was very funny, right? All right. So, so basically, he also really liked the absolute, you know, huge amount. The majority of the movie, the Fighter loved that the majority of the movie was just people punching people. Actually, I was really surprised too. Like, I talked with the Fighter afterwards, and he said he was really surprised that Bucky had the specific weapon that Bucky had in the movie. Because, like, everything's been going on, he thought it would have been more, you know, fantasy-based weapon. And I was like, yeah, I was surprised at that too, Fighter. Right? So, but he absolutely loved all the awesome fight scenes. He really liked to see, you know, basically, he thought Peter Dinklage was the best thing in the whole film. And I was like, you're 100% right, Fighter. He was the best thing in the whole film. It's like, you could not be more correct, right? So, he also thought that he really thought it was interesting the way Thanos was specifically had a goal of killing half the human beings on the planet just for the point of creating balance and making it so that there was more for everyone. And that made him a really complex villain, right? And, you know, I totally agree, Fighter. It's a great point, right? So I talked with the Rogue and asked, you know, of course, asked what he thought of the film. He particularly liked, he particularly liked Spider-Man. He just thought that Spider-Man's new suit, given to him by Tony Stark, just gave that, you know, Peter Parker so much dexterity and speed and strength. I think the Rogue was actually a little jealous seeing, you know, Spider-Man's ability to move in this film. It was pretty incredible. Those like tarantula legs that would come out of the suit. It's pretty awesome, right? So the Rogue just really, really dug the movie. Also really liked Thanos' minions and said that made Thanos an even better villain because Thanos had villains that were in themselves strong enough to probably have based an entire movie on them alone arriving on the Earth. And that some of Thanos' villains, just some of Thanos' minions, were more dangerous than most of the villains that were in any of the other MCU movies. And I'm like, you're 100% right, Rogue, man. That's a really great point, you know? All right. So, the Cleric, I asked the Cleric what she thought about the film. And the Cleric was like, well, I thought it was really interesting that they name-checked Jesus, which I've read is a God within your world. And I was like, well, Jesus is actually the only God here. It's 3-in-1. It's complicated, but we'll talk about that more in depth, right? And she's like, what? So I said, like, hey, like I said, we'll talk about that more in depth later. But what did you think of the movie? She thought, well, that was very interesting because she hadn't thought that had been done in any other MCU movie that she had seen, right? And I said, well, what did you think overall of the film, right? Well, she thought that the special effects were incredible. Like, it was just everything looked seamless, right? She also was incredibly impressed with the fact that Hulk would not come out, and the fact that they pulled Hulk back, right? And did not have Hulk come out. And I thought she had a really good point, right? So, one, by the way, the cleric's a reader, right? So after she had seen some of the MCU stuff, she had asked for some of my graphic novels, just started reading some of the actual comic books. And she said that this is one of the most nuanced representations of the Hulk that's ever been in film, right? And that, the idea that, since she had read Planet Hulk, and since she had now read World War Hulk, she was saying, Hulk is a problem, right? He's so strong. If you bring him in, he can go toe-to-toe with Thanos generally. The more angry he gets, the stronger he gets, right? And so to sideline him, right, really made a lot of sense. And also the irony of Bruce Banner being in the Hulk Buster, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant, right? She really thought that was extremely well done, and I agreed with her on that. So the Rogue, I asked what she thought of the film, right? I'm sorry, excuse me, the Wizard, right? I asked what she thought of the film, and she just was very upset, and said very upset with the death of Doctor Strange. In fact, she was like so angry she could barely talk, and so I had to calm her down. Right, so there's a Starbucks near where I live, and I got her one of those new blonde espressos, right, which, actually I kind of know that, I've been dealing with this wizard for about a week now, and so an espresso actually calmed her down somewhat. I know it's counterintuitive, that's just the way it works, right? When you have people living in your shed, you learn unusual things, right? Okay, all right. By the way, it's getting expensive. Pizzas and Starbucks runs. Man, I'm telling you. All right. So I asked the wizard what she thought overall. I was like, I understand you're upset by Doctor Strange's death, right? And she also said that she was pretty jealous of Doctor Strange's super awesome cape. And the way the cape, actually tried to bind, helped Tony Stark and Spider-Man when they were trying to pull the glove right off of Thanos' hand. And she also said that she had been reading on Twitter some of the things that had been happening within the last year here on Earth, right? And how, there was, that whole hashtag Me Too movement. And she said they really kind of need that on some of the D&D realms, for those kind of just brutal self-discovery moments as a culture. And I was like, wow, yeah, I guess it was pretty interesting here. There were a lot of things that, were probably discussed that wouldn't have been discussed without that hashtag Me Too movement. And so she specifically said that she was that she really liked the women in the film, right? So the Dora Milaje, right, and Scarlet Witch and Black Widow, right? But she also said that she really didn't feel that. That one of the things she liked was that they were just fighting side by side with all the other Avengers, and that they were just as strong as the male characters, which I thought, yeah, it's a really good point, But one of the things she said is that defensive spells really don't work the way that Wong and Doctor Strange used their defensive spells. That those shields, none of the spells she's ever seen allow shields to be that strong or that fast. And I'm like, yeah, it's a good point. I'm not sure why it would work in that way in the Marvel, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right? And she said that she also thinks that clearly Doctor Strange is clearly a level 9 fighter, right? By the way, when the wizard read the PHB, That was like some late nights. Had a lot of questions, right? Said that now that she understood why spells were grouped in these different level rankings, it made a lot more sense. And if she had understood this, her jump between 4th and 5th level spells would have happened a lot further. It would have taken not 18 months, but probably about 6 months. And I just kind of shook my head and kind of, said I understood, but I really didn't. I really didn't. She's kind of an intense personality, right? So it was, it was really great hearing what, the rogue, the cleric, the wizard, the fighter, what they all had to say about this awesome Avengers Infinity movie. I'll tell you what I think of it now, right? One, I was really blown away by it. I loved a lot of the things in the movie. For me, so what is the star rating, right? Well, since there's 5 of us, we're each going to give a star, right? So the cleric gave it a star, the way we decided to do this review all together, collectively, is we would each have the ability to give a star, right? So the fighter gave one star for the awesome fight scenes, and it's binary for each one of us. We only give it 1 or 0, right? Cleric gave it 1 star because the cleric really liked the film. The wizard gave it 1 star, and also the rogue gave it 1 star. All of them gave it 1 star, but I actually gave it 0 stars, right? So I'm going to talk about the things that I liked, but there was one part of the movie. So for all of us collectively, our Dungeons and Dragons review of this is 4 out of 5 stars, right? But I'm going to tell you why I gave it 0 stars. Me personally, 0 out of 1, because I only had 20% of this review, right? So basically the reason why I gave it that was, here's what I loved about the film. I absolutely loved that this was a cap. This was a, kind of a cap top tier on the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I know we have more movies coming, but this really seemed like a major shift, right? Like things are really going to change after this, right? I love Thanos as a villain. Thanos comes to play, he really shows up in this film. And I was really worried because Thanos is so, super villainous in the actual comic books. Of course, I read Infinity Gauntlet. And so he was so villainous, right, that I thought when he shows up, how are they going to do this? These are family movies, how are they going to show the villainy that he embodies, right? And they did it great. I really felt the pathos of him losing Gamora in order to gain the Soul Stone. And the cameo by Red Skull, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. There's so much I loved about this film. I loved, the back end, Thor with the Guardians of the Galaxy, the creation of Stormbreaker. I agree with the fighter. I agree that Dinklage in the movie was the best thing in the whole film, by far. He as Eitri, the Dwarf King. I loved all just like so many fight scenes you can't even count them all. It was incredible, right? And that's what a Marvel movie should be. Like, it's, superheroes punching each other, punching supervillains and punching each other. A lot of that. I really, it really blew me away. It was incredibly well executed. It looked amazing on the screen. The pacing was incredible. All of it, right? There were just so many things I liked. And I thought just Thanos was, that's another thing that I personally felt. Thanos was like, we need to have less people so that, essentially, he wanted to do the whole universe, but I strongly believe if you hear somebody saying we need less people on Earth, that's a villain, right? And Thanos was a perfect embodiment of that, right? Just like saying, if your end goal is to make sure that there's less people, you're a villain, right? I thought that was perfect. Thanos was perfect in the film. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. So I loved virtually every single thing in this movie. There's just a couple things that I didn't like. So one, the whole reason I give it 0 stars, one single reason, is Captain America is gone, right? He has been completely destroyed in the MCU, right? There's actually a point where Groot says, I am Groot, and then Chris Evans says, "I am Steve Rogers," and I thought that, and you're looking at Cap. He doesn't have the American flag on. He's wearing all black. He looks like a mercenary out of a Tom Clancy novel. T'Challa gives him shields, which are completely lame. They look like Doritos. Cap was so terrible, right? They scrubbed the American flag off of him, and they've scrubbed off Captain America from him. And I think they did this because I think a lot of people in Hollywood don't like America, which I was like, and I really don't like that. And I think they also were concerned as a global brand, if you have Captain America just with the American shield, essentially a walking American flag, that would be problematic. But if you're going to do the Avengers, Captain America's part of the Avengers. And also, he was just so weak. Like Steve Rogers, super serum doesn't make super serum and super strength. You got that with Crossbones, right? Like, who cares, right? And that's my point. Is Steve Rogers essentially just Crossbones? He's literally the villain that kills Captain America. He's no longer Captain America, because Captain America's superpower is leadership, and that comes from him in being the embodiment of America. So this drove me crazy. I was like, ugh, really not super happy about this, right? So that's why I'm giving it 0 out of 1 star, right? The other thing that I'm really I'm trying to process, and I think, the rogue, the fighter, the cleric, the mage, they really didn't have a sense of this because they don't have the history for it. But I was so shocked when T'Challa died at the end. By the way, I thought, every single death that was in the film, I thought was fantastic. I thought, this, especially Spider-Man, I was like, wow, you're going to kill Spider-Man? That's crazy. Now I know you're serious, right? And, all those deaths, that was like, Thanos is the real deal, man. This is a villain, right? Like, and I, all those deaths just like drove that nail in with a strong hammer. The point was driven in, right? But to kill T'Challa, that's insane. I was like, are you kidding me? Right? And the reason why is, Black Panther made history. Like, my favorite line in Black Panther is where Killmonger says, bury me in the sea where my brothers chose to go, and chose death instead of bondage. I was like, wow, it was a powerful, powerful line in the film. Black Panther broke virtually every record of, and just showed that you can make political statements with a comic book movie, right? It really, and so to kill him, to kill T'Challa, to take away this incredible hero that we just got, like, not even a month, like, it's still in theaters. Like, this is crazy, right? So I don't understand why Marvel made that choice, right? So I was like, whoa, that's a lot, right? So that's my thoughts on the film. I love the movie. Right? But it really disturbed me that, that Marvel worked so hard to make sure that not one shred of Captain America survived in this. And to me, that's an insult to Captain America, the character. That is an insult to the Avengers, right? And to the comic books. And I was really, that disappointed me. I was really just kind of like, right? So, yeah. But overall, 4 out of 5 star movie. I thought this was really fantastic. The Marvel Cinematic Universe continues to chug along. I was a little disappointed with the film that they didn't kill off one of the major Avengers, one of the core Avengers. I was also disappointed to see that Hawkeye was not in the movie, right? Peter Dinklage, really, I can't say enough about him. Really fantastic. I thought his part in the film, you could have cut off everything before Peter Dinklage showed up and everything after Peter Dinklage showed up. I would have paid my ticket price and walked away happy. Like, it was just, I thought he was used extremely well. I think it's awesome to have Peter Dinklage in the MCU. That was really very much my favorite part. Using him as the E-Tree and him being physically big, it was brilliant. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. So I definitely really, continue to just love the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Huge fan of Avengers Infinity War. Really looking forward to all the MCU movies that are coming out. Of course, I have this problem now. I have the cleric, the fighter, the rogue, and the wizard to take care of. Got a lot of extra pizzas to buy, And I'm also starting to feel guilty that maybe pizza every night is not the best nutritional needs for these, especially the fighter. Like, he's starting to look wan, I don't know. Got a lot to think about. All right. So that's my Dungeons & Dragons review for Marvel Infinity War. Take care.